Let's bring in someone on the phone who knows Larry Kudlow as well as anybody, certainly from his days in the White House, and that's David Stockman. He worked in the OMB under President Reagan with Larry Kudlow. David, welcome to the show.
Very good to be with you.
It's good to have you. What's your reaction to this report by Jim Cramer that Larry Kudlow could be the man to replace Gary Cohn?
Well, I'm not surprised. Larry is a great guy. I've known him since 1980 when I came to Wall Street, found him at Bear Stearns, convinced him on the spot to become my economist at OMB, and he went on from there to become a major voice and influence in the Reagan policy formation in the early 80s. He obviously has tremendous experience on both ends of the Acela corridor, Washington policy, and Wall Street. That's all the good. More importantly, he is a great free market and consistent free market thinker and free trader. And with this absolute insanity that Trump has launched with the steel tariffs and a potential trade war down the road, that's all to the good. Unfortunately, I have to say, and as much as I love him and have known him for 4 decades, as I say, Larry's voice is exactly the wrong voice that Donald Trump ought to be hearing as we go forward. Larry is an incorrigible Wall Street cheerleader and is, incapable of recognizing an overvalued market, and this one is absurdly so.
I don't know. I mean, I don't honestly look. I don't know if it's fair to sort of paint Larry that. I mean, you do have an individual who, if you think that the trade policies of the president are not good ones for the country, he is a more moderate, certainly free trading voice that perhaps people like you would want in that chair.
Well, that would be a good thing, but much worse than the trade policy of Trump is the fiscal policy. It's a disaster. We're heading for $1.2 trillion of red ink next year after this ridiculous tax cut, unpaid for at a time when the Fed is and must be shrinking its balance sheet. Between the two, they're going to dump $1.8 trillion of bonds into the bond market that have to be absorbed, and it's not going to be easy even at 2.9%. So I say that is the huge problem. Somebody needs to be waking Trump up to the fact that he has unleashed a fiscal disaster late in a business cycle that's going to upend everything. And Trump, Larry Kudlow is not going to tell him that. Larry Kudlow is going to tell him that he can grow his way out of this mess, and there's not a snowball's chance in the hot place that can happen. So, yes, he's good on trade, and I'm all for that. But on the fiscal issue, he is the last guy that President Trump ought to be listening to.
Well, from your former incarnation, I mean, you were once in that camp as well. I think we all know that well. Now, maybe your views on trickle-down economics and supply-side economics have changed over the years, and I think it's clear that they have, based on the commentary that you've made on this network in various forums over the last several months. But given the way that the world is changing, given the unconventional way, if you want to put it that way, that President Trump does certain things, his policies are certainly unconventional to many of the status quo. Having somebody like Larry, who has been very open on this network about his disagreement with the president on tariffs, even at a time where tariff talk is getting tougher by the hour, it would seem, one would think that you would be heartened by the fact that Larry's not afraid to share his opinion with the president because he's done it on numerous occasions.
Well, yes, I am heartened by that. I think he would maintain a honest position. I don't think Trump would listen to him. Trump is an incorrigible protectionist. I mean, his thinking never escaped the 17th century mercantilism, as far as I can tell. His whole life he's been saying the same thing. Larry might give a good rationalization on a talk show or a nice little presentation in the Oval Office, but it's not going to change anything on the trade front. Trump is his own man on that. But on the fiscal issue, where Trump is really off the deep end, I mean, it's a 10-to-1 order of magnitude problem, the fiscal versus the trade. Larry's the wrong voice. Larry doesn't believe deficits are a problem. Larry thinks you can grow your way out after you've had a 10-year business expansion, or we're going into the 10th year, the longest one in history. You're not going to grow your way out at this point. Maybe in year 2 or 3 you would, but not in year 10. So that's the problem.
Well, we'll see how it all unfolds. David, I know you're busy today, and I do appreciate you making some time for us on this developing story. David Stockman, the former OMB director under President Reagan.